Good morning and welcome to Adopting the Cloud for Disaster Recovery. I'm Matt Bennett. I'm a sales engineer with Doyens. And really quickly at a high level, Doyens is a cloud-based disaster recovery company. What we do is we enable managed service providers to replicate their customers' physical and virtual on-premise servers to our data center, and we give that managed service provider the ability to run their clients' machines in our cloud in the event of a disaster. So, some quick notes on the actual adoption of the cloud. Some trends that we've seen in the market. So the weakened economy, of course, has accelerated adoption to the cloud. Spending on cloud technologies and services is believed to be increasing by over 30% this year. Anticipated spending on cloud services is expected to exceed over $2 billion this year. And the cloud itself is predicted to exceed over 12% of total IT spend this year. This is a hot topic item on every IT manager and CIO's mind right now. And what we've seen is that SMBs are the most rapid adopters of new technology. So some quick challenges that IT service providers are currently facing. First off, their customers expect to have their data and applications protected, accessible, and available quickly. IT departments of all sizes are preparing for unplanned disasters due to failures in the technology, human error, natural disasters, acts of God, power outages, whatever those things may be that will bring a server down. What we do is we give that service provider the ability to run that server in our cloud. So prior to availability of the cloud, disaster recovery services were out of reach for the SMB market, primarily due to cost, and then of course the support that is required to manage. So a quick overview of the Doyens R Cloud. We are the only automated recovery solution for virtualized environments in the small to medium business space. With R Cloud, IT service providers will seed the initial base image and replicate changes to the server nightly. What that does is that allows us to keep a full intact backup chain. And with that, we can provide recovery in as little as 15 minutes for VMware-based environments. We also provide virtual lab functionality. What that does is that allows the Doyens partner to prevent downtime and prepare for disasters before they strike. And of course, the R Cloud is specifically geared and purpose-built for SMBs with enterprise-grade recovery and enterprise-grade technology that is affordable and easy to manage. So a quick overview of how the Doyens service actually works. What we do is we take both physical and virtualized production on-premise servers. We install a Doyens host agent, and we replicate changes to those servers nightly to our cloud. What that really does is that enables three main things. That enables failover in a disaster recovery environment. So we can take those on-premise servers, we can replicate those to our cloud, and we can run those machines in our cloud. In addition to being able to run those machines in the cloud, we also provide virtual lab functionality. So our partners can spin up their client servers in a fenced-in network and make changes to those servers, test patches, test applications, test a new service pack, and actually be able to have the peace of mind to know that when they perform that same upgrade on the production server, it will be valid and it will take. And then of course we provide the ability to verify those images. So a service provider can spin up their client server in the virtual lab, and they will know that that server is indeed valid and ready to boot up at any point in time. So really, we provide the entire disaster recovery stack. So both disaster prevention, business continuity, and then verification of those images in our cloud. So that being said, I want to quickly dive into a demo of the Doyens service. So what we have here is the Doyens R Cloud portal. R Cloud stands for the recovery cloud. That is what Doyens focuses on, is the ability to recover machines in our cloud. So what I'll do is I'll start out with the account section here. And again, this is built for the managed service provider with an existing book of business, an existing list of clients. So what we can see in this account section are essentially role-based permissions. We have managers and we have consultants. Managers can see all of the clients that they monitor and maintain. Consultant level access can be granted to contractors, to an existing IT staff, or even the IT guy at a particular organization that still has a managed service provider on the back end. So this is role-based permissions. You can limit consultant access. You can limit consultant's view. Again, DOYENS has two different agents, two different technologies that we utilize. We utilize VMware-based virtual machines with our ESX host agent, and we can also back up and protect physical machines as well through a third-party program called Shadow Protect from StorageCraft. Shadow Protect is local backup software that creates an existing backup chain. What we do is we take that backup chain and we send that off-site, and we give all of the same recovery capabilities that we do with the VMware agent, but we really can protect the full gamut of machines out there. So whether that's a physical machine or a VMware-based machine. So that being said, let's go ahead and just create a new agent for a Windows-based machine or a physical machine. Now, as with any backup technology, DOYENS must keep a full valid backup chain. So that being said, you have to start with a base image for your clients. That base image is going to consist of a new full backup from Shadow Protect. Now you, as the service provider, have to get us that full backup to start out with. And you've got a few different ways that you can do that. One of the most popular options is to actually copy that backup chain to a disk and mail us that disk. That would be a 3.5-inch SATA hard drive that can be mailed to DOYENS. When we receive that, we will take that file to our data center and we will perform that first import for you. That's known as the manual import process. The other option is to actually stream that base image over the wire. It's going to usually that image is going to be fairly large, so it's going to require a fair amount of bandwidth, but that's certainly an option that we can provide. So either way, you as the service provider have to get us your client's base image, and then you're streaming incremental files every day. So those incremental files, though, will stream at a predetermined time. Typically that's 2 a.m. But what you do is you have the ability to throttle the bandwidth down during business hours, so DOYENS is not clogging up the pipe. So you can put in set times of the day and set values for bandwidth, and you can throttle that down. Next, we simply need to know the directory where Shadow Protect is installed. This is either going to be the program files or the program files x86 directory. We just need the path to that. And lastly, we need to know where is Shadow Protect storing its files. We just need to have visibility to that directory. So that could either be something as simple as a USB hard drive or a NAS device for multiple machines. DOYENS is a scalable platform. So if you've got a client with a single server, simply plug in a USB hard drive and store your backup files there. If you've got a client with multiple servers, 3 or 5 or 10 servers, maybe it makes sense to put in a NAS device, whether that be a Netgear NAS or a Buffalo NAS. We don't have a preference there. DOYENS is a hardware agnostic company. But whatever you would like to use as the back-end storage technology, we would just need either a UNC path, or we would just need to actually be browsed or mapped to a directory that has the StorageCraft files in them. And that's it. Click Save. Go back to the agent section, and we would then download that agent directly onto the machine. Now, our Windows agents are on a 1-to-1 mapping. So every physical server that is to be protected with DOYENS needs a DOYENS Windows agent created and installed. We also have the VMware-based ESX or ESXi virtual machine. This again is the DOYENS agent. Let me show you this one here. So again, the settings are going to be very similar. We have a low bandwidth period, we have a high bandwidth period, and we have values that we can put in for that bandwidth. Additionally, this time, instead of actually browsing to a directory full of Shadow Protect files, this time we just need to know what is the IP address of the ESX or ESXi host that the DOYENS agent will be installed on. So you would put that information in the IP address field. Next, we simply need root level access so that we can write snapshots. And then finally, because our agent is a virtual machine or an appliance, however you'd like to refer to it as, it needs its own static IP address. local subnet, local gateway, and then DNS information. And that's it. When you're done with that, you're going to, the same concept, you're going to download that agent. This time you'll be presented with two options. You can either download that agent and have that installed directly into the data store of a particular ESX host, or you can certainly download that folder full of files to your desktop and manually upload those files to your data store. Either way, it's up to you. So, that being said, we'll dive into the machine section. Now this is going to be the most important section. This is where really everything happens. So what we have are two different machines. We have our source SBS machine, and we have this test restore. Now this certainly does not have to be an SBS machine. This is just something that we see a lot of our customers running. But at the end of the day, Doyens can protect any Windows-based server from Windows 2003 on up. And in fact, we can even protect desktops. So whether that be a Shadow Protect supported workstation edition, or whether that be a VMware-based virtual machine that is either Windows XP or Windows 7. Either way, we can support those environments as well. So what we have, though, is our source machine, and then we have this test restore. Now what this is this is a copy of this machine that is actually running in our environment. We'll forget about this machine for a second. What I want to do is actually show you the process of spinning up another copy. So we'll click on the finished link here. Now finished takes us into the backups for that particular server. So this is where you can see once a day, every day at 2 a.m. we are uploading that incremental file, that snapshot, the changed blocks from the prior snapshot. That's all that we're uploading. We're uploading the changed data. Typically these are not very large files, but this will certainly depend based on the type of server, what it's used for, how high transactional it is. But this is where you as the service provider can log in and quickly see all of your clients' daily backups, and you can virtualize a server off any one of these daily backups for whatever reason, whether it is in failover mode to run that machine in our cloud, or whether this would be in lab mode to utilize our virtual lab functionality. It's important to note that Doyens provides you with 30 days of retention in the cloud of your client's images. Now, typically in the event of a disaster, we're going to roll back to the most recent backup, this morning's backup, but you have the flexibility to go back up to 30 days prior. So that being said, let's actually spin up this morning's backup. So we'll just give it a quick name. We'll call it Test Restore 1, and we'll click Restore. And once more, we'll click Restore. So at this point, one of two things is happening, and this is going to depend on whether this machine was utilizing our VMware agent or a physical agent. If this machine was utilizing our VMware agent, this is where you're really going to see the benefits of our 15-minute recovery. So at this point, our backend infrastructure is all built on VMware. So when you utilize our VMware agent and send us VMware snapshots, we're simply pulling and collecting those snapshots from our backend infrastructure. We are mounting those on one of our ESX hosts, and we are letting you run that machine. So this is a very, very quick process. Now you're going to get the same end result utilizing Shadow Protect. The only difference is it's going to take a little bit longer in this phase right here. What we'll have to do at that point is we will have to convert those Shadow Protect files from their native format into a VMware format. This is referred to as a P2V, or a physical to virtual conversion. That happens automatically on our back end, but just keep in mind that there is a conversion process that will need to happen, whereas when you're utilizing the VMware based machine, there is no conversion necessary. So this is just about done here. This is a very small machine that I keep for demo purposes. This machine's about 20 gigs, so this restores usually in about a minute or so. So this is a quick process. But we do advertise 15-minute recovery or less for VMware environments. Once this is done, the last piece of the puzzle is really the network connectivity. And this should finish here in just a second, and as soon as that does, we'll actually dive into the network connectivity. In fact, there it is. We'll click Start Machine. And again, the last piece of the puzzle here. Now we mentioned this earlier, but we have two different ways that you can bring up a machine, two different options for network connectivity. We have failover mode and we have lab mode. Failover mode is where we are going to assign a public IP address to you that is yours to use for the duration of the time that you are running that machine in our cloud. You can point your DNS and MX records at that public IP address, and you can really use that to replicate your client's production environment and run it in our cloud. Now the other option is lab mode, and I'm not going to touch on that right now. I will show you another machine that's already in lab mode. But the steps to actually bring up a machine in failover mode are very simple. We'll go ahead and we'll click on this link. 3 checkboxes. We're turning on GRE and L2TP. We click submit and start the machine. And that's it. And this is where the power of Doyen's automation really comes into play. So at this point, we now have that virtual machine that is sitting on one of our VMware hosts ready to run. But before we actually spin up that machine, we build and automatically provision a virtual firewall that gets associated with that machine. This is something that is completely unique to Doyen's. This is all done automatically. That's why we capture this information before we start the machine. So now we know that you need a public IP address. You have the ability to set custom inbound and outbound connections. So you can build custom routing rules. You can forward in any connectivity on any port that you choose. You have the ability to choose the port number in inbound and outbound connections. And then you have the connected to dialog. And it's exactly what it sounds like. It allows you to run multiple machines in our cloud and network those all together on effectively the same VLAN or the same subnet. So when you spin up a machine with the connected to option here, let's say you've got a client that has Active Directory, Exchange, SQL, and a terminal server, for example. If all of those machines go down, you would log in, you would spin up the Active Directory server the same way we just did, and as you spin up each additional machine, you're going to use this connected to option, and you're going to connect those back to the same machine. So that being said, once you do that, you now have all of your machines on the same subnet. They all have interconnectivity to each other. So that process of the automatic provisioning of the firewall is going to take about 4 or 5 minutes or so. So instead of waiting for that, what I want to do is I want to actually dive into this test restore. And this is the machine that I alluded to earlier. This is a machine that is already running in our cloud. So if I click on running, this is going to open up. Dialog box is going to look very similar, but this time we have failover connectivity disabled, meaning this machine is running in lab mode. Lab mode again is very similar to failover mode, but instead of getting a public IP address, this time we have no inbound or outbound connectivity by default. So this is that testing environment where you can spin up your client's Exchange server, for example, from this morning, install a new service pack, and you can know that if something goes wrong with that service pack installation, you are not going to harm any other machines or even that machine itself. Go ahead and install that service pack, see what happens. If things are good, you know that you have the thumbs up to actually do that installation on your client's production Exchange server and that nothing is going to go wrong. Now, if you need to connect into any machine that's in our cloud, you've got numerous different ways that you can do that. So, quite honestly, the first and most simple method is going to be Vnc Connectivity. So any thumbnail that you see in the Doyen's portal is clickable. So if we click on this, this is going to actually open up an SSL secured Vnc connection directly into the machine. So there's no software to install, there are no ports to open. All that you need to do is open up a web browser and click on this machine, and you have direct access into it. Now, most of our partners and our service providers that we work with are performing business reviews for their clients, whether those be monthly, whether those be quarterly or annual business reviews. Their clients are demanding that their service provider show them that their servers are backed up, valid, and highly available. So that being said, the service provider can set a meeting with their client. They can log in, they can spin up a machine like we just did. Once that machine is ready to run, all they need to do is take their laptop in and click on the thumbnail and show their client that this is their production server. So you can give your clients peace of mind to know that you can bring up their server at any time for whatever reason. There's no need to call doyens. There's no need to let us know. If you just want to spin up a server and verify that it's there, all you need to do is click on that thumbnail. Now, if we're talking lab mode, maybe you want a little more robust method of connecting into the machine. So that would be in the inbound connections. Now, I mentioned that by default, all inbound connections are disabled. You do have the ability to turn on specific connections. So I've already turned on port 3389. This is Microsoft Remote Desktop. So once I open that up, I can take this IP address, I can throw that into Remote Desktop, paste that in, click Connect, and I can log into this machine. And there we go. And there we're in the machine. So once we're in here, this is your full Windows environment that you are accustomed to. This is an exact duplicate of your client server from a particular point in time. So you have full access with this RDP session to copy and paste files in here. If you need to copy that service pack in, actually install it, you can do that here. Or, for example, if you know that you need to recover a specific file, as quickly as we can provide you the ability to run this machine in a matter of minutes, you can get in through the RDP session, you can open up port 3389, and you can copy and paste files right out of here. You can FTP files out of this. However you'd like to restore your files, you can certainly do that here through this RDP session. Now, that's just one option for inbound connectivity. We do have a list here of ports that are typically associated with an SBS server. You can pick any one of these and you can open up connectivity on whichever port that you need. Or if you know, for example, let's say you need port 25 for Microsoft Exchange, you can simply type that port number in, click OK, and that will build a new routing rule. So what that does is that opens up connectivity from the external interface of the virtual firewall and forwards port 25 down to this virtual machine. Now the same principle is going to apply to the outbound connections as well. Either enable all, disable all, or just turn on specific connections. And then lastly, we've already touched on the connected to, but it allows you to connect together multiple running machines in the doyens rCloud. So that being said, looks like that machine we spun up a couple minutes ago is now running. So we can click on this thumbnail. Take just a second to load up this VNC session here. And this is where we'll actually be able to see how quickly doyens can bring up a machine. Matter of minutes, there we go. That machine is ready to run. We'll be able to log into this machine in just a moment. You now have a machine that is set up and running in our cloud. If we click on this running link, here is the IP address that we assigned to you. And that's it. That's a quick overview of the doyens service. If there's any additional follow-up questions, please shoot an email to partners@doyens.com. We'll make sure we get your questions answered for you. Thanks very much.